Hello everybody, this is your student Facebook meteorologist Sean Bagden here, and we're live to talk to you not only about drought-busting rain across New England tonight and into the early morning and late morning hours tomorrow morning. We're talking about the more pressing threats here, which would be a very strong damaging wind threat here, especially across down east Maine and the North Shore of Massachusetts, even some areas here into Rhode Island and southeastern Mass, but especially this area that I'm highlighting here. As far north as Fryeburg, Maine, over into Augusta, Bangor, Bar Harbor, and as far south as Boston and maybe even Providence. Hartford may too also get into this, but definitely North Shore of Mass. That is where things are going to get ugly quick tomorrow morning, right around sunrise. Looks to be like your main threats are going to be around 9 a.m. In that area. Probably closer to 7 to 10 a.m. we'll tag the time as for your high wind event here. So we're going to break this down starting with the upper level maps and make our way down. We'll actually pull this out to the national view real quick. Here we go. Here's your 500 millibar flow map, and here's that trough we've been talking about for the longest time now. Already starting to tilt neutral as we have this jet maximum that has rounded its bend and starting to eject out into the right entrance region here and starting to swing this trough axis negative. Low pressure already starting to develop right in that area of divergence here across the Delmarva and the Blue Ridge Mountains here of Virginia. We're going to step this forward through around 6Z tonight. That would be 2 a.m. tonight. And we can see we've got this negative tilt currently taking on this trough is starting to get oriented more east to west like this instead of west to east like this. This would be positive tilt. This is negative tilt. And we start seeing this energizing of the 500 millibar jet right here as frontogenesis and cyclogenesis is undergoing here in the right entrance region, and maximum divergence is starting to get underway across the southern northeastern United States, and this is going to push its way up into the Maine area through the morning hours tomorrow. Stepping 3 hours ahead to 5 a.m., we can really see this negative tilt take hold, and this is when we see maximum strengthening of this low-level jet in this next two frames here. Again, you see this 109 knots of wind energy, 110 knots, widespread over 90 knots of wind energy, right at the 500 millibar level, which is, I believe, right around 10,000 feet here. And this is going to lead to a big transfer of wind energy to the ground if we can get any instability or the presence of any type of mix layer. We'll check soundings for that threat a little later on in this presentation. And then here's where things get really bad, right at 12Z in the Boston, Mass area. Here we go. Just incredible amounts of wind energy right on the right exit region of this jet here. Frontogenesis and cyclogenesis are going to be at a maximum here across New England. And especially with that flow coming in off the Gulf of Maine, we're going to have those southeasterlies just getting funneled into the Boston area at a very high velocity here. We're going to drop down to the 850 millibar low-level jet maximum and analyze that and some sounding profiles so we can get a hold on what our actual wind values could be within this band of extremely high wind that is going to be impacting New England, especially eastern New England here, right along the coastline. Here's your 850 millibar winds. We're going to break this down city by city. We're going to start here at 5 a.m. in the morning. Maximum wind energy is going to be here right across, we'll say, Hartford, Springfield area here. We've got 76 knots just above the ground at about 4,000 feet right here. And we can see we've got instability, a nice mix layer here all the way up to, it looks like, about 6 kilometers. And using the rule of 60%, that means 60% of the wind energy found at the top of the mix layer can get transferred down to the surface in cases like this. If there's dry air present, as much as 90% of that can get transferred to the surface. That's when you get those high wind gusts in the thunderstorms. But since we're saturated right now, we have less acceleration due to evaporative cooling. So we're just talking about the 60% rule here. Thank goodness. Because what is this? We have 90 knots of wind energy here. Right here, just at the top of this mix layer, and that's a pretty deep layer of 80 to 90 knot winds. We'll take the average of that and say 85 knots here, and when we're talking 85 knots of wind, 60% of that is 51 knots, and then multiply that by 1.15 to get that into miles per hour. We're talking about sustained frequent wind gusts to almost 60 miles an hour in a very widespread area here, from Springfield all the way down to Hartford, even into Long Island here. We could be looking at widespread 60 mile an hour wind gusts, which is damaging wind right here across western Massachusetts, central Connecticut, and eastern tip of Long Island, pretty much from Massapequa east on Long Island here. Lots of power outages we're expecting across southern New England and eastern New England as this event unfolds. We'll take another look here at Long Island, since that's another populated area. Again, this is at 5 a.m. we're talking about these amounts right here. And look at that. A little bit less extreme here, but we've got 80 knots of wind energy at the just below 850 millibars. So even more of that energy could probably reach the ground. We're probably talking 65, almost 70 mile an hour winds that you could be seeing here right on the coastline on Long Island here, especially with that southerly flow. Could be seeing a good amount of wave energy making it onshore. So coastal flooding definitely also a possibility here for high tide cycle, if high tide is early in the morning here around the 5 a.m. hour. Definitely a concern with some beach erosion, but power outages is going to be the main threat across southern and eastern New England here. Heading to 18Z, this is going to be your 7 to 10 o'clock time frame here. And just look at how this low-level jet explodes out in front of this circulation, this cyclogenesis that's going to be undergoing here across New England. And again, we're talking, this is only, a couple thousand feet above the ground here. This is 850 millibars. And 60% of this is going to be hitting the ground. We're talking Boston suburbs here, 86 knots of wind energy just above the ground. That could be impacting some skyscrapers here in the greater Boston area. And we're talking 90 knots of wind energy, and we've got some dry air mixing in here. We could be talking about 65% of this reaching the ground, maybe closer to 70% of this 90 knots reaching the ground here near the Boston area. So we'll take the average here and go 90 knots, because it looks like we've got some 95 knot readings, 85 knot readings. So we'll take the 90 knot average, multiply that by 0.6, and that's 54 knots of wind energy. We're pushing hurricane force gusts here in the Boston metro area. Yeah, we're talking 65 mile per hour winds, gusts, 65 mile an hour wind gusts in the greater Boston area, with widespread 45 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts well up into Maine and eastern New Hampshire here, and down onto the southeastern area of Massachusetts. But right in this band right here, right in that band, that's where you got to be having your generators ready for tomorrow morning, as likely we'll see many power outages go down here across the north shore of Massachusetts if your power lines are above ground, and into down east Maine through Portland and Augusta, Lewiston area and Freiburg. Could be seeing those winds getting close to hurricane force gusts, around 65 to 70 miles an hour in some isolated incidences here, especially in downsloping regions if you do have any southwestern facing slope towns. So that's about all we have for this live stream. But again, if you live anywhere across Maine, eastern New Hampshire, pretty much all of Massachusetts, and eastern Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the eastern tip of Long Island, power outages are definitely a possibility as we head in through the day tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.